Simply put, go ahead on and like, share, subscribe to my channel. Leave in the comments in the comment section below. Your comments are greatly appreciated. Club. Slap. Yeah, as we know, Chris Rock, he finally spoke out on his Netflix special. He has a Netflix special out. You know, I know everybody was kind of waiting to hear about, you know, his thoughts on the Will Smith incident. I watched the comedy special. It was pretty good. You know, Chris Rock kind of has his own style about doing things. He has his own style about comedy. He's a pretty good comedian. He's a pretty good storyteller. I kind of like that about him. You know, it's some other guys, it's some other comedians that I feel are just like straight up funny, or how you falling down in your seat laughing. But Chris Rock does a good job with his style of comedy, and he kind of, you know, goes out and he talks. You know, he talks and he makes some points, and he says some things in a funny way. So I watched the special in total. It was pretty good. He talked about a whole bunch of different things. He talked about his kids. He talked about the Kardashians. He talked about a bunch of different things. But I think everybody was kind of waiting to hear what he was going to say about Will Smith and the Will Smith incident. And I kind of talked about, on my channel, I kind of talked about Jada, kind of talked about Will and the incident when Will apologized to him, you know, how he should have apologized that night. I already talked about that. But the thing that I feel, when Chris Rock talked about, you know, Will Smith, he pretty much said his side of the story. He pretty much was like he was kind of in the middle of the situation, and he made some jokes and they were funny, but at one point you kind of tell that he was it still kind of bothers him that he would do that, because he considered Will Smith a friend. He even said in the show that he always rooted for Will Smith. He always rooted for him, you know, being a rapper. He always, you know, thought his movies was good, and he just made a joke that night. He kind of told like the little bit backstory of what was going on, and I had no problem with him explaining the things the way that he explained it. And some people kind of upset that he was talking about it, but it's a lot of stuff going out where people don't want anybody to say anything about somebody doing something wrong. We got this thing going on in our society where people get upset when someone speaks the truth or say how they feel about something. Well, he shouldn't have said this, he shouldn't have said that. But you got to realize he's a comedian. He does that for a living. And anybody, if you have a problem or something going on in your life, you should be able to talk about it. And I feel like that's kind of his therapy. You know, even me doing these videos is kind of therapy for me, giving me a chance to talk and say some things how I feel. But I know I'm not on the same level with Chris Rock or anything, but he's a comedian. Of course, he's gonna talk about things that happen in his life. And he even said that after he didn't press charges, he knew he was gonna make a special about it. He knew he was gonna make some money off of it. My thing about this whole situation is, you had Chris Rock, who actually is a thought of himself as a friend of Will Smith, and the whole issue was about Jada, like what she did, how she embarrassed her husband. Now she embarrassed her husband, and he felt like he had to take up for her when Chris Rock made the joke. And the joke was it was a light joke. It wasn't even about the situation with her cheating, with her running around with another guy, her putting it in his face. It wasn't even about that. It was about some other stuff. So he goes up and he slaps Chris Rock for it. And the the sad part about this, and I feel like Jada she's the epitome of the modern woman. And guys, you gotta learn from some of this stuff that's out here. Now, if you really look at the situation, Will Smith was done wrong by his wife, and pretty much Will Smith has taken the brunt of the criticism, and all of that for his wife, and she's the one that's being wrong in the situation. They were supposed to be having an open relationship. Now, I don't know the rules of having an open relationship, but if you're married, I would assume that if you're in an open relationship, one person doesn't want to throw what they do in the other person's face. I would assume that. And she embarrassed him. She made him look bad in front of everybody. And Chris Rock talked about it. She made him look bad in front of everybody. Everybody called him everything outside his name. He's the one taking the brunt of that situation. And then when he goes up and he defends, call himself defending his wife for Chris Rock making a joke, he goes up and he hits Chris Rock, and he still gets punished for that. So he can't go to the Oscars. He's done all this work in his whole life. He done all this work his entire life, and he gets the brunt of the jokes from his wife cheating on him, and he gets looked down upon because of him going up trying to defend Jada. And look at her, she's relatively unscathed after all the situation. And like I said, that's the epitome of a modern woman. She doesn't want to take accountability for her fault. She never comes out and says it's her fault, because the whole situation is her fault. Now you got him messing up his relationship with Chris Rock, because Chris Rock said they were friends, and I seen them in pictures together, and he cared about Will Smith. And I'm pretty sure somewhere down the line, Will Smith cared about Chris Rock. But you got this woman in the middle, and she's dividing him and the things, in his life. Because if you really look at Will Smith, like throughout his career, he's been pretty much a good person. And I don't know him personally, but in the media, you never heard about him doing anything crazy, hurting anybody, talking crazy, doing drugs, showing guns, or anything like that. Never heard of him doing anything. Relatively clean cut. Did rap music. Don't cuss in his rap music. He's done different movies, different types of movies. Box office. Considered a good guy. But him trying to just getting with the wrong woman will mess you up. Guys, you gotta look at this stuff, from a practical standpoint. There are women out here that don't care anything about you. That woman, you can see that Jada doesn't care anything about him. Don't care about his career. Don't have any kind of sympathy towards him. Doesn't have any compassion towards him. And he's stuck with her. And like I said before on my other video, he needs to get away from her. He needs to get away from her. She's his downfall. And a modern woman, a woman with a Jezebel spirit, a woman who is like that, will be your downfall. He's banned from the Oscars. He's looked down upon. He looked as a simpleton, looked as a simp. And he's looked at as a jerk. Now, and Chris Rock was just talking about how he felt about the situation. And I had no problem with him saying what he said. I had no problem with anything he said on on the Netflix special because he said how he felt. And a lot of times people don't want they don't want them to say how they feel about things and call people out on their wrongdoing. Because Will was wrong, Jada's definitely been wrong. But you just look how that divided Will and Chris Rock. Looking at Jada, she kind of in the background, not taking accountability for anything. But it was her fault. It's all her fault at the beginning. All her fault. Just want to impart a little bit of wisdom on you guys today. Yoda. Go ahead on and like, share, subscribe to my channel. Leave in the comments in the comment section below. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And like I always say, love you guys millions, and I'll talk to you later. Global.